What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got an unboxing for you of Apple's brand new computer, the MacBook Pro 2020, featuring their very own silicon, the M1 chip. So there's a lot of things to test: the performance, the battery life, the reliability, and everything about it, because it is the first set of computers that Apple has announced without the use of Intel chips. And from what they've done with the iPad and the iPhone, it is evident that Apple is really good at making their own silicon and getting the most out of CPU, GPU, and also efficiency of their whole system tied in with their own software. And I think with the iPad Pro, especially in the last couple of years, and what you've been able to get through performance and battery life, that is an indication that the MacBooks are going to be very good. But obviously I'm also going to have to unbox it, test it, and also compare it to this year's 2020 MacBook Pro and also the MacBook Air, because the models that they announced last week were the MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, and also the Mac Mini, all with the M1 chip. But because this is a brand new computer, that is a completely new direction, and one that I really think will change the future of Apple and their systems, it is a bit confusing for general consumers in the beginning as to which one you should buy for the long run. So if you guys have any specific questions or videos you want to see, make sure you go ahead and drop the comments down below. So when it comes to form factor, it looks exactly the same as the other models of MacBooks, but inside you've of course got the ARM-based chips, and that is an 8-core CPU which has 4 performance and also 4 efficiency cores, as well as an 8-core GPU. And the big talk has been the 20-hour battery life claim, which is insane, and it is double of what the traditional MacBook Pro 13-inch promises. So typically, I'm able to get like 4 to 5 hours on my MacBook Pro, so if I'm able to get like 9 hours of usage on this computer, then I think it's done its job. But with reliability and everything still being in question, and the fact that you have to use Rosetta to run x86 programs that usually use Intel chips, that is also another area that I really want to test out and see just how well these applications run. But from what we know, Apple's very own apps, including their own suite of their productivity and also video editing and their general operating system, is already ready to take advantage of what they've made. There you have it. There's the MacBook itself, and there is also the MacBook Air option, which uses the same internals, but the difference between the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air is that it actually has a fan inside. So it's probably going to be able to run at a higher power load because of the thermals. So if you plan to do like video editing and photo editing, then the easy option to usually recommend is to go with the Pro model. So take a look at the side here. It has 2 ports, and that is the only option that you have at the moment. And one of the choices that you're gonna have to make is whether you want 8 or 16 gigs of RAM. And for the past few years, MacBook RAM has not been user upgradable, but the difference with this type of RAM and the RAM that you find on a regular computer is that it is unified RAM. So it doesn't really have any sort of allocated memory for GPU and CPU. It is memory that is used by both depending on which one needs it more. So you have the choice between 8 and 16 at the moment. So taking a look at the MacBook itself, this is in the space gray, and it also comes in the silver. And they also did bring back the startup chime because a lot of people seem to have missed it. And just moving the screen protector there. And for those who don't know, now is a really good time to get a new MacBook because Apple finally fixed the keyboard issues that were evident on previous generation models. So here we have the whole setup process. I'm gonna run through that as well very quickly. So as I go through the setup process of the MacBook Pro with M1 chip, I want to talk about some of the things that I'm most excited about as I go into the testing of this device. The biggest one is without a doubt the battery life, and I feel like the claim of 20 hours was very shocking to a lot of people, because double is always a very bold and confident claim. In the recent years, the MacBook Pro's battery hasn't been bad at all, but of course when compared to something like an iPad, the iPad from my experience has just been able to last way longer, and that is because the apps are very well optimized and more of a controlled scenario, whereas the computer has a lot of variables and background applications that do run at the exact same time that seem to draw a lot more power. With Apple's very own silicon, that is one of the things that they're really trying to eliminate. The optimization, the efficiency, the way the kind of CPU and GPU work to control things is all with a mission of giving you the maximum battery life possible. So aside from that, some of the other things that are included in the box are a USB Type-C cable for charging and also the power brick. So it's nice that some Apple products still come with the proper charging equipment. So the box is very minimal, nothing really much other than that. We're gonna set this aside, and I really wanna give you like a quick test and initial experience and impressions of the performance of this new computer and also my first day of battery life. So the first thing that I had to boot up in my test is Geekbench, just because I'm very curious as to where this ranks with Apple's other computers in the lineup. I'm not going to be the first or last person to say this, but Geekbench scores don't really tell you too much beyond the raw numbers of what the computer is capable of. At the end of the day, the way the software chooses to utilize the hardware is what is really going to give you the best performance possible. I've had computers that had great Geekbench scores, but when it came to actually using it for video editing and professional workflows, I just felt like the computer really wasn't utilizing it that much, and in the real world, it just wasn't performing that well. So on the number side of things, on Apple's very own homemade chip, you can take a look at the Geekbench scores, and it shows very high capability in both the single and multi-core. Especially with these kind of numbers, I'm very excited to go ahead and test it on a real-world scenario in the coming weeks. So when it comes to running all of your apps on this computer, the ones that are made by Apple are obviously optimized to run with the M1 chip out of the box. But for any other application that is not natively supported yet, it actually uses Rosetta Stone to translate all of the code and run effectively on this new platform. Each application is going to give you like a very different experience depending on how well it translates, but from the one that I've tried, including Lightroom, it was able to load up all the photos very well, and there was no lag whatsoever or buffering, and I have like 1,500 photos stored on the cloud that are RAWs that I'm editing on my computer and phones. I was honestly very impressed out of the box, and when you look at the Geekbench scores, you obviously expect a lot out of it, but for those who don't know, the Rosetta Stone and the Geekbench test is actually only about 76 to 79% of the full capability of the M1 chip, because it is being translated and is not native just yet. So from my very initial experience with the MacBook Pro, I've got to say, so far this looks really good. The performance is great, the battery life has been decent so far, but I need some more time with it, and I can tell from the activity monitor that it is doing a very good job of giving an efficient workload, but at the same time giving you the maximum performance. If you guys want to see like a day in life video of running my daily operations of video editing and administrative work on M1 chips only, make sure you let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll definitely consider that. But that pretty much wraps it up for my initial unboxing and impressions of the MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M1 chip. And if you guys want to learn some more things about it, make sure you drop a comment down below as to what you would like to see, and I'll see you guys in the next video.